Our next guest is a learned scholar, a brilliant speaker, and foreign relations expert. Please welcome back to our show, Mr. Joseph Carswell in the house. What's up, brother?
Hey, brother, how's it going?
Oh, man, it's all to the good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to be on.
Hey, let's go ahead and jump feet forward into this, man. Brother, why are we really in Libya fighting against yet another ruler we place in power?
Well, again, thank you, Mr. Garrison, for having me on the show. And, I just couldn't sit by idly anymore and just watch all of these things play out on the world stage. And, again, thank you for, giving me an opportunity to share on your show about the things that are really happening behind the scenes, And first off, when we deal with Colonel Gaddafi was put in power by the U.S. back in 1970. At the time, the United States was getting 90% of the oil profits from Libya, and Libya was getting 10%. Well, when Gaddafi got in power, he flipped the script and said, okay, now we get 90 and y'all get 10%. And he has been public enemy number one ever since to the U.S. And so we know that in 1986, under the presidency of Ronald Reagan, his house was bombed, his compound was bombed, and his stepdaughter was killed. And then they blamed him for the Lockerbie bombing in 1989, which is now it has now been proven that the CIA was behind that. But Gaddafi paid those families out. He went on ahead and paid them out anyway. And when he did that, the UN they took the sanctions off of him in 2004. And in 2006, big oil companies from the United States went to Libya and started getting these big contracts. But what did Gaddafi do again? He decided to nationalize these companies because the world is run by the corporatocracy. Again, let me say it again. The world is run by what we know as the corporatocracy. The world is not run by governments. It's run by corporations. And so he did the same thing that Chavez did in Venezuela and that other so-called terrorist presidents or dictators have done when these big oil companies such as BP, Shell, Exxon, Mobil, when they come into countries, and I'm going to just give you an example. In Nigeria, for instance, they are in Nigeria. Shell is in Nigeria, and they're only required by the government to invest 1.5% of their profits back into the country. Let me say it again. They go there and they exploit the resources of the country. They get the oil from the country. They sell it and we know that for the last 30 years, big oil companies, their profits have been 1,000-fold for the last 30 years. As a matter of fact, the big oil companies over the last 100 years, they are the only publicly traded companies on Wall Street who have never missed a dividend payment to their shareholders.
Wow.
Let me say that again. The big oil companies in the last 100 years on Wall Street, they are the only publicly traded companies in the last 100 years to have never missed a dividend payment to their shareholders. Okay? And why is because they go into what we know as the emerging world or third world. They go into these countries and they rape and rob and pillage the resources, and they give the cronies and governments they give them a little payout, but the people who own the land and who are indigenous to the land, they get nothing.